Evening, I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler. Welcome to my latest video. We're doing a forecast update today on 31 January 2024. I thought it was kind of cool to show you some old school maps here on the title slide tonight. This is a U.S. Weather Bureau, Department of Agriculture U.S. Weather Bureau map from 1905. And you can see how basic everything was on these weather maps back in 1905. There was no blue H here, right? There was no red L over here for the low. Literally, it's just written high and low pressure. And you can kind of see some of the wind barbs here as well, shaded in. This is where you really had to know your station plots pretty well. And then you kind of see some of the isobar lines here as well, these solid brown lines. So just wanted to share some really cool things here. An old school map from the older days, 1905, of the Weather Service, at the time known as the Weather Bureau. All right, so for this evening's video, I'm going to cover the thickness and temperature anomaly charts. We'll take a look at the European and GFS Ensemble 500 millibar anomaly charts. We'll then dive into the longer range prognostication, followed by stratospheric polar vortex forecast, and then finally we'll take a look at the final thoughts in tonight's video. All right, so let's continue on. First, let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast over the next 7 days or so. And we're going to start it off. We're going to start off with the forecast for Thursday, the 1st of February, 2024. And I'm showing you some examples of a thickness chart. A thickness chart here on the left, showing you green and blue areas show precipitation. The blue dashed lines generally refer to colder air masses. The red dashed lines are going to be warmer air masses, as you can see from these images. Let me go ahead and get my, here we go, get my pointer out here. Okay, so anytime you see these blue dashed lines on thickness charts, that indicates lower thickness values, and thickness is directly proportional to the air mass. So blue dashed lines, lower thickness values, colder temperatures. Red dashed lines, higher thicknesses, warmer temperatures. And then, of course, the green and the orange and the yellows, these blue colors indicate precipitation. Okay, so starting with the forecast for tomorrow, Thursday, the 1st of February, kicking off the month of February. Generally, we see quiet conditions along the eastern U.S., over to the Midwest, southern U.S., the Gulf Coast region, Texas. We do see some precipitation into California. We will see some higher elevation snows in the Sierra Nevada, and there will actually be some rainfall. And it hasn't been very wet at all this winter in California. We'll see some rainfall into Southern California tomorrow in the LA area, for example. But overall, fairly dry across much of the United States for tomorrow. The temperature anomaly chart here on the right generally indicates the orange coloring and the darker coloring, the browns indicate a well above normal temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit. So you'll see values associated with how much above normal conditions are or temperatures are. The blue coloring is indicative of below normal temperatures. So for tomorrow, we see much above normal temperatures across a large portion of the United States. Over in the northern plains, the Midwest, the northeastern U.S., above normal. The only couple places that are actually below normal in the blue coloring tomorrow will be Florida as well as Southern California with all that cloud and all that cloud and rainfall there. Now let's turn our attention to the forecast for Friday, the 2nd of February, 2024. This would be Groundhog's Day. What are we looking for here in the forecast? We have a cold front which is going to be basically moving through the mid-Atlantic states, generally Southern Virginia on Friday morning. You see the blue dashed lines here. This indicates colder air kind of coming down from eastern Canada, New England, down to the mid-Atlantic for Friday. So temperatures will cool off across the mid-Atlantic. We do see this massive area of upper level ridging, generally centered across the northern plain states up into central Canada. We do see that ridging continuing and well above normal temperatures continuing across parts of the Dakotas as well as parts of Minnesota and Montana. We do see some of that moisture now that has moved east. That was once in Southern California and into the Sierra Nevadas with snow. On Thursday, tomorrow, the 1st of February, is now moved into the Intermountain West area. The temperature anomaly chart here on the right for Friday, the 2nd of February, 2024, sees below normal temperatures across southern Arizona and across much of the state of California, as well as parts of central and southern Florida, slightly below normal for Friday. A large swath of the country, again, specifically the central U.S., beneath the ridging up to the northern plains and central Canada, well above normal. Looking at the forecast for Saturday, the 3rd of February, 2024, what does the upcoming weekend hold? We see an area of low pressure now at 996 millibars situated over northeastern New Mexico. We see some precipitation extending from western Nebraska, central and eastern Kansas, down to eastern Oklahoma and eastern Texas for Saturday, the 3rd of February. So it'll be a little bit wet in eastern Texas for your Saturday to kick off the weekend. We still see some northerly winds here in the western Atlantic. We have a little bit of colder temperatures extending down towards eastern PA from New England. Milder temperatures across the Great Lakes, the northern U.S., the northern plains, etc. there. Looking ahead now here to the temperature anomaly chart. Very warm, much above normal temperatures across Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Dakotas. By the time we get to Saturday, you see temperatures on the order of 15 to 20. In case of North Dakota and northern Minnesota, 20 to 25 degrees Fahrenheit above normal for Saturday. Slightly cooler along the southeast, the Carolina coasts up to southeastern Virginia for Saturday, behind that cold front that came through on Friday, so slightly cooler conditions across Florida as well as across the desert Southwest, including Nevada and California, as well as Arizona for Saturday. Looking at the forecast for Sunday, the 4th of February, 2024, we see now an area of low pressure at 995 millibars positioned over southern Mississippi. We do see a precipitation shield extending from that low pressure system, generally from Arkansas, heavier rain showers across central and southern Mississippi for Sunday, as well as approaching the Florida Panhandle, Mobile, Pensacola as well. We also see a secondary area of low pressure at 996 millibars over the northeastern Gulf of Mexico and Appalachia Bay. But we do see general dry conditions for the mid-Atlantic, New England, right onto the upper Midwest for Sunday. We do see another system approaching the California coast for Sunday, the 4th of February, 2024, a 994, fairly intense 994 millibar low pressure center moving towards the east, towards central California. Looking at the temperature anomaly forecast for Sunday, we see below normal temperatures across California, into Nevada, into Arizona, parts of western New Mexico. We also see below normal temperature readings across the deep south, generally Mississippi and Alabama. And that correlates well with our precip map. So there's going to be a lot of clouds and rainfall. And a lot of these temperature anomalies below normal down to Florida are associated with precipitation and rainfall on Sunday. Well above normal temperatures continue in association with the upper ridge across Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, eastern Nebraska, and the Dakotas. Just 20 to 25 degree Fahrenheit above normal temperature readings yet again for Sunday up in the Minnesota and the Dakotas area. Forecast for Monday, by February 2024, we now see that area of low pressure over the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. See some scattered showers across parts of central and southern Florida. We also see some showers moving ashore into parts of South Carolina. A 990 millibar low pressure system and a frontal boundary is now moving and pushing into California. Could see another round of heavy snow in the Sierra Nevadas for Monday, the 5th of February. Mainly dry across the upper Midwest, northern plain states, as well as New England. Looking at the temperature anomaly chart here on the right, showing a couple pockets of below normal readings in blue across Florida, across South Mississippi, Alabama, eastern Louisiana, as well as well above normal readings continue for the same locations, upper Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and the Dakotas. This has not changed much. If I go back to Sunday, the 4th of February, look at these temperatures right here, well above normal in the same exact location yet again on Monday, the 5th of February. Slightly above normal across the Mid-Atlantic, getting even more above normal as you go northeastward along I-95 towards New England. Looking at the forecast for Tuesday, 6 February 2024, we have an area of fairly strong low pressure just east of the Florida Peninsula, 998 millibar low. We do see some cooler temperatures. We have a little bit of cold air damming effect coming down into Virginia by Tuesday. This would be Tuesday afternoon, early afternoon. We see some cold air damming extending generally along the Virginia area, just east of the Appalachians. We do see a lot of precip out over the western Atlantic, generally east of Florida. We have another area of low pressure approaching the California coast. Still some rain showers across San Diego and Southern California for Tuesday. Generally dry across the Midwest, down to Texas, Louisiana, and the deep south area by this point, by Tuesday. Looking at temperature anomaly forecast on the right for Tuesday, February 6th, showing well above normal temperature readings across the northern plains and upper Midwest yet again. Not much change to this situation. We do see a cooler area of temperatures, below normal temperatures, slightly below normal. South Carolina, down to Georgia, into Florida for Tuesday, as well as slightly below normal temperatures along the U.S. West Coast Tuesday. Forecast for Wednesday, 7th February 2024, we see an area of low pressure now starting to scoot away from the southeast coast, 998 millibar low. We do see some fairly warm temperatures well above normal across parts of the Dakotas, upper Midwest yet again. Minnesota, the eastern Dakotas, this area here on the right, the temperature anomaly chart is not changing, well above normal temperature readings over a large swath of the northern plains, upper Midwest, right to New England, including those of you in the Mississippi or the Missouri Valley. Over here on the right, or on the left rather, we see some scattered precipitation across the Intermountain West for Wednesday. We see below normal readings also on Wednesday, extending down from South Carolina, Georgia, down to Florida. And we also see below normal readings in the blue and green coloring here out in the western U.S. All right, so now let's examine the 500 millibar height anomaly forecast. We'll start with Thursday, the 1st of February, 2024. Whenever you see the blue or the green coloring, that indicates lower than normal heights in the atmosphere at about 18,000 feet above the surface. Whenever you see the brown coloring, that's generally anomalously higher than normal heights. And that is also up at a correlation up at 18,000 feet. So blue and greens and purple coloring indicates upper level troughs, generally associated with cooler and wetter or above normal kind of unsettled area, above normal precip type areas. Whereas this brown coloring, this ridging, indicates dry and well above normal temperatures. So, starting on the Thursday, the 1st of February, I do have a snapshot on the left of the EPS, European Ensemble, on the right, the GFS Ensemble, in each of the slides that follow. But generally, we see a major upper-level ridge position extending, ridge axis extending northward into central Canada. It's in the shape of an omega. Let me draw this out. Let me see. So we have the trough on the U.S. West Coast, and then we have a shape of the letter omega, the Greek letter omega. And then we have another trough here off the East Coast. So this shape here, this ridge axis, is really going to result in anomalously above normal temperatures. We kind of hinted at what those areas were: upper Midwest, northern plain states extending into central Canada. We do see that trough that's going to be approaching California by tomorrow afternoon, the 1st of February. We also see another upper level low at this location over the southwest Atlantic that's going to be heading out. In both of these comparisons here, the Jeffs is very much similar to the European here on the left. And then here's the forecast now: 500 millibar height anomalies for Friday, 2 February, Groundhog's Day. This ridge axis remains in place across, extending all the way up to central Canada. We have troughing generally on the east side of that ridge axis across the mid-Atlantic for Friday. And we do see that cooler air coming down from the northeast behind a surface cold front. We do see another area of another closed upper level low at this location off the Pacific Northwest coast with a trough axis extending southwest from it. And both of these models show the same thing. You kind of see the Jeffs here on the right. Very similar placement of the upper level ridging into central Canada. Very similar placement of the troughs in green, generally over the Atlantic, and as well as off the coast of Oregon and Northern California. Here is the ensemble forecast now for Saturday, 3 February 2024. We see a major shortwave ridge axis extending northwestward into central Canada. We have an area of below normal heights across western Atlantic. We also see another area in this green coloring of below normal heights across the desert southwest into Texas by this point in time. And again, both models, the Jeffs here on the right is showing a similar, this is showing a similar look to the EPS out through Saturday, the 3rd of February. You kind of see the trough placement here. And then you also see this ridge axis on the GFS ensemble. Here is the ensemble 500 millibar height anomaly forecast for Sunday, 4 February 2024. We have some changes here. First of all, we have that troughing across the western North Atlantic. We have the system here across the Louisiana area along the Gulf Coast, the storm system. And then we have another approaching positively tilted trough that is working its way towards the west coast. This ridge axis, we have a closed upper level high height center across northern Minnesota and across Lake Superior, the ridge axis extending north from it into central Canada. And very good similarities and agreement here. Trough placement off the west coast, upper level closed low across northern Louisiana, and another trough over the north western Atlantic, and the ridge axis also in a very similar position here on the Jeffs model here on the right. It is not a completely closed upper level high, but it still is a fairly strong upper level high with ridging extending northward. The 500 millibar height anomaly forecast now for Monday, 5 February 2024. We have a closed low now across the Florida Panhandle. We also have a ridge axis over the top of that area of lower heights across central Canada. We also have this trough, which is approaching the California area by Monday, the 5th of February. Looking ahead now to Tuesday, 6 February 2024. Trough axis approaching California and pretty much coming on shore at this point in time. We have a strong ridge here that is working its way, now extending more northeastward into eastern Canada. And on the front side of that ridge, we have a deep closed upper level low, according to the European ensemble, situated just east of Savannah, Georgia. On the right here, we do the comparisons to this would be the Jeffs model, showing the positively tilted trough approaching California. Very similar placement of this ridge axis from a south-southwest and north-northeast direction in eastern Canada. And then we also see this major trough here associated with an area of low pressure at the surface across the southwestern Atlantic. And then finally, the ensemble 500 millibar height anomaly forecast for Wednesday, 7 February 2024. A trough axis has moved ashore into California. This ridging is starting to flatten out a little bit or weaken a little bit, but we still have it with the greatest sinking air motion across southeastern Canada. And I would associate that with more above normal temperatures for that location. We do see this trough lingering across the southwestern Atlantic for Wednesday, the 7th of February. And if we just compare on the right here, the GFS ensemble to the European here on the left, you see the trough axis in a very similar position. You do see that ridge axis in a fairly similar position as well. And then you have a closed low on the Jeffs, which is a little bit further north. So you notice this closed contour here, height contour. The Jeffs has that upper level low much further north as compared to the European here on the left. All right, so now let's examine, if I just take a look here more local to the area, we're going to take a look at the GFS forecast here on the left, and we're going to compare it to the European forecast here on the right. These are 10-day temperature outlooks, include daily high and low temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit for Norfolk, Virginia. So starting with tomorrow, the 1st of February, you notice that we have a high of 55 projected for the GFS model, and a fairly close high of 53 projected here on the right by the European model. And then temperatures generally in the low 50s again on Friday, and then we see by Saturday, we got a pretty decent drop-off in the high temperature. High of 43 across Norfolk on Saturday, the 3rd of February, and then a high of 41 is what the European model is projecting for Saturday. We start seeing a little bit of a warming trend, though, as we go from Saturday to Sunday. GFS has got us at 53 for a high, whereas the European is a little more modest in its warming at 44. And then we see a drop-off again, and this is going to be associated with circulation around a surface, that storm system to the southeast, we're going to see very strong northeast and north-northeast winds. So we're going to see generally chillier temperatures extending all the way from Tuesday through Wednesday. And both of these models are reflecting that. Whether we look at GFS here on the left, high temperature 41 Tuesday, high 43 Wednesday, or the European, high 46 on Tuesday, dropping to 44 on Wednesday. We do anticipate there will be a milder trend in temperatures beginning next Friday, the 9th of February, and working into the Super Bowl weekend, the 10th and 11th of February. It's going to be a temporary mild time period. Looking down the road now a little bit further into the middle portion of February. All right, so this is, both of these charts represent the 15th of February, okay, on both of them. So the chart on the left is actually the NOAA JEFS V12, the GFS ensemble. The graphic here on the right is the European ensemble prediction system. And the big features I want to point out here is this huge ridge axis all the way up to Alaska. I mean, this thing goes pretty far north. And it's showing on both the European and the GFS ensemble. I mean, this thing is massive. Now, what happens when you get these heights to rise across the west? So what happens if we get these heights to rise across the western portions of North America? For every action, there's equal and opposite reaction. So what goes up over here across the western portions of North America must come down over here across the eastern U.S. So we have a very strong signal for below normal heights across the eastern seaboard by the time we get to the 15th of February. And it's showing up on both models. You notice this pattern, positive PNA, higher heights over the western portion of North America, and with a positive PNA, you get higher heights there, you get lower heights across the east. And so these lower than normal heights, this generally favors some type of storm development as well as some colder temperatures by middle February. If we look at the teleconnections forecast now and try to explain this pattern change by the middle of February, you'll notice where we're at right now here. Okay, this is a European ensemble, by the way. These teleconnection forecasts comes to the European ensemble today. Notice how much above normal the AO is on the positive side all the way through about the 5th of February. That positive is going to promote milder than normal temperatures across the eastern U.S. Then it goes negative, though, from the 6th right on through the rest of the period. In fact, it drops off even more sharply negative closer to the 14th and 15th of February. So when we see this sign of the AO positive, it's generally associated with milder temps in the eastern U.S. When we see this sign, this green line here, the average of all the ensemble members of the forecast system here, the European ensemble system, when we see this dive like this to the negative territory, that's generally associated with the negative phase of AO with colder temperatures in the eastern U.S. Let's now examine the North Atlantic oscillation forecast from the European ensemble system. Positive right through the same time period. 4th to the 5th of February, we got a positive North Atlantic oscillation, or positive NAO. That's associated with above normal or milder temperatures across the east. Now notice it goes negative from the 6th all the way through the rest of the period. Tries to come up closer to neutral here around the 12th and 13th, but then it's going to dive again after that. So we're going to have a negative AO and a negative NAO. Generally, when we see the pattern change, which I just showed you, when you see this, lower than normal heights in the east on both the GFS and the European ensembles, right, that is going to be associated with colder temperatures. What happens now? Let's examine the teleconnections forecast now for the Eastern Pacific Oscillation, also known as EPO. Initially, we see positive phase of the EPO. Then we go negative on the EPO from the 4th right on to about the 8th. Then kind of neutral conditions take over, and then we drop negative again, more sharply negative after the 12th of February. So a positive EPO is generally associated with lower pressure in the Gulf of Alaska, and that is associated with the inability, kind of milder temperatures in the east, because you have inability to get cross-polar flow established with a positive EPO. A negative EPO, on the other hand, that's associated with more of a ridging into the Gulf of Alaska, straight up into Alaska. That's a negative EPO. And that is associated with more cross-polar flow, where we're going to get colder air from the far north areas of the Arctic, and it's going to basically go southeast from there, from Canada into the U.S. Let's now examine the Pacific North American pattern forecast, the PNA. Initially, we have a slightly positive PNA, and that's going to persist the first few days of February. And then it's going to go back positive here, a little bit more strongly positive after about the 13th to 15th February here. So what do we get when we get a positive Pacific North American pattern? We're going to get this. We're going to get this, where we have this huge area of above normal heights across the Pacific Northwest extending all the way up to Alaska along the west coast of Canada. In both cases, that's a positive PNA, and you get the troughing and the more negative height anomalies downstream of that major ridge and those higher than normal heights across. You're going to get that troughing in the eastern U.S. Now let's examine the Madden-Julian oscillation forecast, MJO. What's happening with this? The GFS extended outlook is here on the left, and then we have the European extended outlook on the right. All right, so if I were just to like to draw this line here, phases 8, phases 1, and phases 2, in both cases, 8, 1, 2, if this line is over there, any of these lines are over in this territory, that indicates the, I'll just put a C there for colder phase of the MJOs. MJO phases, the colder phases. If we have the MJO on 8, 1, or 2 in any of those phases in the month of February, we're generally associating those phases with colder than normal temperatures in the eastern U.S. All right, you see what's happened, okay? We have the MJO over here in 4, 5, and 6 for a while. And that is, I'll put M there. That's the milder temps in the east phase. Whenever the MJO is in 4, 5, or 6, those phases, we're going to have mild temperatures in the eastern U.S. And as you can see, this black dark line kind of denotes in January how the MJO has progressed. So 13th of January, it was heading into phase 4. In the 15th to 17th of January, we were all in phase 4, and then we went even to a milder phase in phase 5 between the 19th and 23rd. And then from the 23rd to the 27th, we went to a mild phase 6 of the MJO. Now we have worked our way over to phase 7. Okay, so now we're working our way into phase 7 at this point, right here with X is in both cases. We're in phase 7 now. There are indications, this like purple line here in both the GFS extended on the left and the European extended on the right. Both of these models are in excellent agreement with the MJO going to phase 8 around the 15th. Around the 15th of February. See this number 15? In both cases, the MJO rotates into phase 8. Now that's important. Phase 8 is important. It's going to give us colder temperatures. It's going to favor colder temperatures in the eastern U.S. Now, let's take a look at the stratospheric polar vortex. What is the vortex doing? Well, recently, the vortex has been very strong. It's the shape of it's been more concentric, like this circle. Whenever the shape is concentric like this over the North Pole, that is generally indicative of a stronger stratospheric polar vortex, and stronger stratospheric polar vortex favor milder temperatures across the lower 48, the U.S. in general, the mid-latitudes. What's going to happen over time is, see the shallow coloring here? This is associated with warming temperatures. Here's your scale here on the right, your temperature scale in degrees Celsius. All right, so when you start seeing the orange and the deep oranges and the medium orange here, we're in the yellows, that indicates that the stratospheric temperatures are going to undergo a warming process. They're warmer than normal, than climatology should suggest. The blue is associated with below or colder than normal stratospheric temperatures. And it's not surprising that those colder than normal stratospheric temperatures are in association with the center of this polar vortex here, okay? Over time, I want you to pay attention to these white lines now. Do you notice how they're more elongated over time? This forecast, by the way, is for the 16th of February, okay? So we're still about 16 days out from this period. We have a signature of warming, and we have if you look at these white solid lines, these height contour lines, they're more elongated or stretched out. So what we're expecting with the stratospheric polar vortex over time is some significant warming in the stratosphere again, yet another round of this. It's possible around mid-February, and we're expecting more of an elongated or stretched out polar vortex. All right, so let's put everything together now on these last 3 slides, and I'll kind of walk you through what I'm looking at here over the upcoming period of time, right around up through the 15th of February, the next 2 weeks. All right, let me change things out here. Okay, so first thing first, we're expecting dry conditions, seasonal temps, both Thursday, the 1st of February, as well as Friday, the 2nd of February, across the Mid-Atlantic. All right, we will see a cold front kind of move through southeastern Virginia on Friday morning, the 2nd of February, and Groundhog Day. So we do expect the wind to shift back to the north at that point behind the front, and it will make things a little bit chillier after this. So you see this cold front drops through southeast Virginia. We'll have the dry and cooler temperature regime on Saturday, the 3rd of February. After that, we see a dry and slightly milder period on Sunday to end the weekend coming up on the 4th of February. And then we'll see a coastal storm system, which will be well off the southeast coastline on Monday, from Monday the 5th of February right on through Wednesday the 6th of February. Now, we will continue to watch the model trends. At this point in time, really doesn't look all that significant. But, you never know with these things. We're still 5 to 6 days out, so we'll continue to watch the model trends on this to see if we can get any kind of precipitation into southeastern Virginia. We do expect breezy conditions no matter what happens. There's going to be a strong pressure gradient between high pressure to the north and this low pressure off the southeast coast. So we are expecting wind gusts from the northeast and north-northeast 30 to 35 miles per hour on Monday, as well as Tuesday. So the 5th and 6th of February look quite breezy. We may see some scattered showers overnight Monday night into Tuesday morning across southeastern Virginia. Just depends on how far north the precip shield extends from that low pressure system. We do expect the conditions to remain breezy. Again, strong north-northeast winds along the Virginia coastline on Wednesday, the 7th of February. The storm system is going to be quite an intense one. It'll be well offshore across the western Atlantic, but it still will be very intense. So we're going to have very strong pressure gradient, very strong winds. Milder air returns or moves in Friday, the 9th of February. Next weekend, Super Bowl weekend, Friday, 9 February through early Monday, 12 February. We do see a period of rain potentially likely ahead of an approaching cold front on Sunday, the 11th of February. So we might see a period of rain as that cold front comes across the area, southeastern Virginia. We will see much colder air moving in around Valentine's Day. Behind that frontal boundary, the departing cold front, there is a storm signal that's showing up during this period around the Valentine's Day, 14 to 16 February. That'll be something to keep an eye on, to watch. The ensemble models, deterministic models, the CFS and European extended model, they all indicate a colder pattern returning from middle through late February across the eastern U.S. And what supports this the most are the way the teleconnections are lining up. I showed you the teleconnections forecast from the European ensemble. They're all supporting a change to a colder temperature pattern across the eastern U.S. A negative NAO, a negative AO, a negative EPO, and then a positive PNA, and then the MJO, a more favorable phase 8. So put these all together, and they're all constructively working in the same direction. And they all support colder than normal temps in the eastern U.S. Additionally, we have climatology on our side. Typically, at the end of El Nino winters, we tend to go out with a bang in February across the eastern U.S. What do I mean by go out with a bang? I mean colder than normal temperatures, as well as potential for winter storm events. So we'll continue to watch those signals. Another thing that's in favor of the pattern change mid to late February for colder than normal temps in the east is another weakening of the stratospheric polar vortex per today's forecast. This would occur around the middle of February time period. This would result in a stretched or elongated vortex structure, and that's going to favor colder temps in the eastern U.S. as well. So all of this is lining up, okay? All of it. It's amazing how every model is agreeing with each other right now. It's quite scary, actually. But we see all the signs there. We see, the teleconnections lining up to support colder temperatures in the east. We see all the modeling lining up. We see the climatological aspect of the end of El Nino winters as El Nino begins to fade out. We see a stretched polar vortex which favor cold in the east. It's all here. It's all lining up. So you say to yourself, hey, you know what? I really would like a snowstorm. I really would like colder temperatures. Well, here's a caveat. We gotta look at the caveat, okay? by the time we go through February, let's say we get to mid-February, late February, at least across Virginia here, okay, we're going to be seeing later sunsets. We're going to be seeing longer periods of daylight at the end of the day with later sunsets. We're also going to see an increasing sun angle in the sky. This is going to start to become a factor for middle February and beyond. And you'll notice this if you live in the Hampton Roads area, as an example. You walk outside in the sun, it feels much warmer, and then you go in the shade, it's much colder. You'll start noticing the difference between the sun areas and the shaded areas from mid-February and beyond. Now, all of these factors here, I'd even throw in the average temperature consideration. The average temperatures start working their way up again by this point. So later sunsets, longer day length, or daylight hours, I should say, daylight. Increasing sun angle, so that starts to increase the incoming solar radiation a bit, as well as the fact that, we're coming into a period where, everything, the climatological norms or average temperature coming up. These two specifically, the increasing sun angle, later sunsets, they could act to offset the colder temperatures to some extent. So, 10 degrees below normal in mid to late February is way different than 10 degrees below normal in late January, okay? Since those average temperatures are going up at this point. All right, that wraps up my video this evening. I hope you enjoyed it. There's a lot of interesting things ahead here coming up. And, we looked at a lot of things tonight. We looked at, how the U.S. forecast looks like for the next 7 days. We see much of the U.S. initially tomorrow on the 1st of February, well above normal temperature-wise. That continues on Saturday, Sunday, central U.S., upper Midwest, northern plains, above normal again. Sunday, look at this. I mean, same spots, same locations, well above normal. Same locations, well above normal, as the ridge remains parked over this area in the shape of that Greek letter omega. And right now, it looks like this storm system is going to be a miss. This is a European model. I haven't shown you the GFS model, which brings it up further up the coast, just off North Carolina. So there's a slight difference in opinion still between modeling. I imagine we'll lock down a final solution on Friday. There's your overall upper air pattern, your troughs and ridges at 500 millibars or 18,000 feet above the ground. Ultimately, where we're heading is this. This is a nice look for mid-February. And this could promote maybe one more potential major snowstorm somewhere from the mid-Atlantic to New England. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. The details remain to be seen. Just one thing to remind everybody, you don't want too much cold, because then you're going to get Arctic high-pressure systems that are going to kind of descend upon the eastern U.S., and they're going to suppress the moisture further south. Storm track's going to be way south if we get the cold air to be basically too cold. If we keep temperatures with the right balance of cold with meeting up with overrunning moisture, then we can easily see a winter event. So we'll just keep watching this as time goes on. That's all I got for now. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for subscribing to my YouTube channel. Until next time, take care and God bless everyone.